Well, as much changes, as much stays the same, I suppose. It's now April of 2002 and I'm back here in the luxuriously appointed county hotel in central London for another shot with Contiki, my third season. And yesterday, 9th of April, was the funeral of the Queen Mother. So I went down to Hyde Park and see if I could get next to the road to film the cortege as it came past, and as you're about to see, I had some luck. So that was being in the right place at the right time, and now it's onwards and upwards into Europe again. Who knows what lies ahead. April 19, 2002, and this is Innsbruck, Austria. This is the Olympic ski jump. 1964 and 1976 Winter Olympics were held here. Just filling up the Contiki coach here in Innsbruck. Nice setting for a BP service station. Alright, here in the Austrian Alps, going through the Brenner Pass, and it's snowing. It's the first time I've ever been in falling snow, and it's supposed to be a Contiki summer tour. Unbelievable, unbelievable.
No, you won't need a flash, there's enough glare.
I'm filming you while you're taking my photo.
I'm loving that.
Jack's family, hello. We're in the snow, loving it.
This is John, he's a rugby league champ, a rugby union champion.
It, oh, he's a legend, he is. Dead set.
Jack, best driver in all of Europe.
Well, shucks. Well, this is, as I was saying before, it's a Contiki summer tour. And as a result, it's the first time I've seen falling snow, because I go home to Perth when it gets too cold. Magnificent. Austrian Alps. It's a magnificent scene. I always knew white was my favourite colour. I'm as excited as the crew. Well, it's May 24, 2002. And I'm back at Monaco, and they're setting up for the Grand Prix here at Lowe's Station Hairpin. Put some barriers up. Some of the crew. We met John the other day in the Alps. He's just kicking a tyre.
See Schumacher lining these up, mate.
Ralph, mate, he's hit this wall a couple of times over the years.
What sort of speed would they be doing around here?
Sprint down and we'll get you.
Sprint down where?
From here, make a corner.
No. Oh, you mean in the coast?
No.
You wouldn't bring it up here.
I want you to run.
Oh, really?
What sort of speed,
John's the runner.
what sort of speed would they be doing around here?
Oh, not very, not comparatively, not that
What, 60?
great a speed. Yeah. First gear corner this.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. Because they absolutely, they're trying as hard as they possibly can. So.
Look at the rubber on the corner.
Yeah, that's from last year.
This is just smashing this turn. Just gorgeous.
It is, isn't it? It's probably the most opulent corner in the world of motor racing, mate.
That's good commentary, Jack.
I don't know about that, mate.
Fantastic commentary.
That's the side of the hotel next to the Brent.
Opulent, bloody smashing.
He's a rugby player, mate. He's never heard of these stuff.
Can we bring the bus through here and do a hairpin?
No,
Why not?
because it's too tight. You've been out there and seen all the Ferraris and stuff that are around. This is a pewter modern day Formula One car monument here at Mirabeau. I come down from Station Hairpin and it's where Senna crashed famously in '88. With a few laps to go while leading. If he'd won that race, he would have won 7 the Monaco Grand Prix in a row. And that is the entrance to the tunnel. And this over here is the entrance to the coach park, which is underneath Monaco here. Well, back here in Paris, here under the Eiffel Tower on day 1 of another London to Athens trip. As you can see, we've got the old tower behind us. It started raining pretty hard today in London and it's fined right up, which makes me very happy. Sounds Scottish all of a sudden.
Yes, it's the World Cup then.
Oh, is it? The crew, day 1. The driver taking pictures of them.
Make sure you like him.
Alright!
It's for my mum.
Hi, Mummy.
Hi, mummy.
Pretty serious around here since 9/11 last year. Videotaping dodgies with their guns. Is Elvis?
Missing 2.
You better go and find him.
Running over there.
It's Trucky Cam here in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. There's the man himself. He's a wild man. He's the deliverer of parcels for Laurie Kibblewhite.
How are you, Captain Jack?
Say hello to all your fans back in Perth, WA, Trucky.
How are you, man? Riggsy, how are you, mate?
Hey, what's going on, mate? You doing a Contiki tour?
I'm fucking exhausted, eh?
Oh, mate, these first days are hell, aren't they?
Mate, DTs from not drinking enough. Coming apart.
Well, I'm standing down the bottom in Place de la Concorde, down the bottom of the Champs-Élysées here in Paris. Otherwise known as the Avenue of Diamonds and Rubies, because of all the headlights and taillights of the cars. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, Paris. I thoroughly recommend anyone to come here and have a look. Unfortunately for me, it's probably the most stressful place that we drive in. But having said that, you still appreciate it for what it is. Some idea, there's not really any lanes here. They just go everywhere. Just to the left-hand side of the Champs-Élysées and the Arc de Triomphe is the Eiffel Tower. It's in the distance, of course, not too far away. The Bourbon Palace, the palace doesn't have any bourbon in it, as Mac has said to us on the training trip. The fountain where the guillotine was. It's the exact spot where Maria Antoinette and head Louis XVI lost their heads in the French Revolution. An obelisk. It's 2,000 years old, but it's only been here for 200. And there is a Contiki MAN Marco Polo. Well, it's Thursday the 9th of May 2002, and I think the main thing when I think of Contiki is to expect the unexpected when you work for Contiki anyway. This is my hotel room here in Lucerne in Switzerland. We're staying in a jail, basically. It's a hotel that was converted from a jail in 1998. It was used as a jail for about 100 years, and it's now a hotel. Apparently it's haunted. It looks fairly sparse, but it's quite comfortable. There we go, we got some bars on the windows, authentic. This is the door. And this is one of the hallways. As I say, it was a genuine jail, full on, and they retain the look today. Pisa Coach Park, about 110 kilometres west of Florence in Italy, and that's the Leaning Tower of Pisa itself over in the distance there. The rolling hills of the outer reaches of the eastern side of Tuscany. Here at Orvieto, about halfway between Florence and Rome. Quite a lovely sight. TV coach. And the bottom there, that's been reversed up this little road here. Don't ask me. But it's all worth it. Orvieto is another walled fortress type city that's about 2,000 years old, not unlike the other ones we've seen in Italy, France, UK. Monaco at Grand Prix time. I'm driving along the start-finish straight here next to the pits. This is Friday night, Grand Prix weekend. We're out qualifying tomorrow. Pole position, probably be occupied by Schumacher come Sunday. I got nowhere to park, so all I got to do is get to drive around the Grand Prix track. This is the first corner. Fangio did not need team orders. No, he didn't. Even though Sterling Moss dutifully came second to him a few times. This is the climb up the hill, overlooking the harbour. They're fairly beaten when they come up here. Tell you, if you'd told me 3 or 4 years ago I'd be driving a tour coach around the Grand Prix track of Monte Carlo a Friday before a Grand Prix, I never have believed you, I'll tell you that. Overlooking Monaco, qualifying Saturday. Oh, there they go up the hill, that's where I was driving last night.
Yeah, it was.
Up to the Hotel de Paris.
Yeah.
This is the final resting place of Nicholas II, who was the last Tsar of Russia. He and his family were assassinated in 1918. Only buried here in 1998. This is the tomb of Peter the Great, Peter the First, whatever you want to call him. St. Petersburg, Peter.
See what the flag is?
Up at the front there, this is the Russian warship, the Aurora. There was that gun at the front there, which is just underneath that flag. When that fired in 1917, it signalled the start of the Russian Revolution. Well, we're currently in Palace Square, just having enjoyed some lunch over in the main part of St. Petersburg, and we're going to go and visit the Hermitage this afternoon, a real big museum. Makes the Louvre look small apparently, which is hard to believe. That's the famous archway here in Palace Square in St. Petersburg, and if we pan around, quite a bit of scaffolding going on, getting ready for the 100th year celebrations. 300. 300, sorry. There's all the coaches. That one in there is mine, and this is the rear of the Hermitage, which I can't take the video camera into. What a grand structure. Well, it's June 20, 2002, and we've come about 40 kilometres to the south west of the centre of St Petersburg to Peterhof Palace, for the want of a better expression. This was the summer residence of Peter the Great. The duck's got a bit of a wake behind it. It's a genuine Russian duck. That's the Baltic Sea. As we came from across the Baltic Sea from Sweden to Finland, well, this is it right up here in Russia. In a beautiful part of the world. Well, because it's all manicured, it's not really like this anywhere else, to be honest. All the tourists have arrived.
What is it?
Peter the Great built it after he went to Versailles. I've seen the battle for Versailles on video already. And had a look at Louis XIV palace down there and decided he wanted one for himself, so he came back here to Russia and built this. It's got a small facade, of course, at the front, 600 rooms and miles and miles of gardens and parks. Back into Leningrad, and this is the memorial to the siege of Leningrad. It's when Hitler had the Nazis bombing Leningrad for 24 hours a day for 2.5 years. Lunchtime in Russia. Dumplings, meat dumplings. It's delicious food. This particular monstrosity here in the middle of St. Petersburg is the Redemption Church. It was built on the exact site that the Tsar Alexander II was assassinated, and that's why it's also known as the Church of Spilt Blood.
Okay.
Just handing over the contraband illegal liquor from Serge. He is supplying us with much quantities of champansky and vodka. And this is Serge.
Hi. I'm Serge.
Serge is our man in the Russian mafia. Well, it's bang on midnight here in St. Petersburg, and as you can see by the amount of light we've got outside, this is about as dark as it gets. Up here near the Arctic Circle, well, relatively speaking anyway. This is the view from my hotel room. Salubrious establishment right there, seen better days. Saw occupancy once. There's a typical Lada taxi down there. Not that much money around this part of town. Well, we've left St. Petersburg behind us, and we've moved about 180 kilometres to 200 kilometres south-east of St. Petersburg on our way to Moscow. And this is our night stop here, Novgorod, or something like that anyway. It's the oldest town in Moscow, the original settlement. Moscow, in Russia, should I say, the original settlement. And this church behind me is about 800 years old. The town's most famous for its Kremlin, which in Russian means fortress. So we'll go and have a quick look. He added a Russian flag to his collection last night.
about 70.
Cheers, Jack.
Have a drink for Andy Wright.
Andy, to you, mate.
He was on, I'll see you later. Lardaville. June 22, and we're on our way to Moscow. We're about 350 kilometres from Moscow, and we're in the middle of nowhere here in Russia. This is a bit of a shanty town, is the way they live around here. I'll show you. It's just a shanty town, basically. This is how they live. If you don't live in St. Petersburg or Moscow. It's wooden huts.
And 6:25 When they knock on the door.
That's a compulsory smoking sign.
Here on the coast. What a beautiful little city and little spot this is.
Isn't it? Well, let's see if we can juice her up.
No, we don't need to, but just for future reference, because this is
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll have to get it out of the. I'll have to get it out of the truck.
Looking for places that we can fuel up.
It's a flash-looking place, isn't it?
I know.
In the middle of nowhere. 76, American company.
I just thought, seeing as we're here, like, there's a toilet and stuff.
Look what they're doing to my bloody truck. Look what they're riding. Self-inflicted.
Yeah.
This is Highway 1 here in Russia. We're about 150 k's out of Moscow.
Yeah.
And this is the sort of thing that's running around on the streets here. And it's getting a good shot of the back wheel. And, oh my goodness, we're going to pass him as we do that with the windscreen. Oh. Unbelievable. This basically is saying that this is the house that Tchaikovsky lived in. Here at Klin, then 100 kilometres out of Moscow. Yeah, Tchaikovsky wrote The Nutcracker Suite and Swan Lake in this very building.
Like when he was a little boy and he was threatened his position as the king. He had the right to be the king of Russia. And he moved from Moscow because there were so many times uprisings that he nearly escaped. I mean, in a way, that is a tragedy because people, to be a nun or a monk, they needed kind of a special education probably, or inspiration.
This I'm led to believe is the university.
This is?
Of Moscow. A very impressive structure too.
University of Moscow.
My one, flash one. Well, after 4 days in Russia, we've finally arrived in Moscow. And this behind me is the Olympic Stadium from 1980. Isn't it? Ski jump up here on the lookout. It's the bridge we've just crossed, the river. And that's the stadium. It's the games America boycotted. Bloody lot of racket going on today. As I say, it's June 22, which is the day the Nazis attacked Leningrad. That's the view from my hotel room here in Moscow. That's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs building. According to our guide, it's a very, very important building. There's the coach down there. We might have a bit of a coach party tonight, have a bit of a sing-along. We'll see what happens.
1973. And now we sailed in the Sydney Harbour. I saw an ocean that I couldn't kiss her. And she was mine and I was home to the lucky man. She was like so many more from that time on. Aussies in Moscow. Harbour's walls all empty until we found their chosen ones. And their legs were always open, but their minds were always closed. And I traveled around the world from year to year.
Year 2002. And it's the 22nd of June in the year 2002, and we're standing here in Moscow outside the Belgrade Hotel in front of the Stalinesque Foreign Ministry right behind you to your right hand side. We've got some young Australians here in the front of the coach giving a bit of a Jimmy Barnes rendition because they're all a little bit homesick and sad and deprived human beings.
Moscow Underground.
And you will be on the right hand. Yeah? Down to the left to stop. Now, full take the train on the right side. Yes, next stop. We get on. Next one stop.
Alco, gee.
Really doing number on this door.
Can you believe it? There's an Alco.
Just another fucking railway station.
Why do I mention so many times? It will be destroyed. It will be
Peaceful protest against the changes that have happened here in Russia.
It's the 23rd of June and we're in Moscow at the very first McDonald's that opened in Moscow. And Galena, our guide, said it opened in the 70s, but I think I would dispute that and say it was the early 80s because I remember it being on TV. And she tells the most incredible story about the queue-ups here. People queuing around the block for hours to get into this place, but she said the reason why they queued was because at least when they got in here, there was actually going to be food for them. Prior to that, well, not prior to that, but in times that people have known, you could queue up for ages and just get nothing. She said they'd never had toilets with toilet paper, so they'd line up here and go to the toilet, and every time somebody went to the toilet, they'd steal the roll of toilet paper. And she said she took 2 rolls of toilet paper, and she said she didn't use them, she just took them home and had them as like a trophy because she'd been to McDonald's. She said people used to take home the hamburger boxes and then take their sandwiches to work the next day in the McDonald's hamburger box as a symbol that they'd been to McDonald's and they'd had Western food.
Unbelievable. It all happened here originally.
It's had 49 people.
When it first opened. And as a symbol, we're having a cheeseburger and a Coke. To me, McDonald's is it's still slimy shit. Always was, always will be. But when you come to places like this, you sort of realise the significance of things like this. And I suppose everyone views McDonald's as the ultimate symbol of capitalism. And that really hits home when you come to Russia. This McDonald's is the only one that we've seen in Russia that actually has the name in English, right there. But normally they're in Cyrillic. We are now, how you say in English, a military museum on the outskirts of Moscow. Well, it's not really the outskirts actually. This is where some of the stuff is that used to scare people so much. It's my little Puerto Rican. No doubt my good friend Jay Riggs from Shirley, Indiana would be able to tell me exactly what every single piece of equipment here is, and I tell you what, we need him because as you can see, all the explanations are in Cyrillic. So I gather that's a 1941 tank of some description, for example. What have we got here, mate?
Big phallic symbols.
Big air ballistic missiles is what they are, sir.
Oh, yeah.
You impressed, Dino?
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's destruction. Interplanetary destruction.
Yeah, some serious weaponry around here.
Yeah, some massive tools over there. Don't talk to our fellow travellers like that.
This statue is one of the last remaining symbols of the socialist regime, with a hammer and sickle, and it's rather large. Oh, lovely. And it probably won't be around for too much longer. They were going to rip it down 2 years ago, and the plan is in the next 12 months, no more. June 24, 2002, we're currently in the grounds of the Kremlin. I shouldn't be videotaping, but I am anyway. It's part of the crew.
He's our loony bus driver over in the corner that's talking to himself.
That's it. I'm actually talking to all the viewers, lucky viewers at home, that don't have to come here because of the video I'm about to produce. So a lot less hassle staying home. Red Square just over there. That dome is the church in Red Square.
I said, look, that is the copy of how it looks inside, the office of Lenin. Yeah, that is the building on the left, and then window on the left, and then to the very left, the corner, that was his living room. Since Stalin time, since 1930s, no one lives here, no families, no wives, no children.
That was the old press, yeah, I just missed him on video. He's been grilled by 500 foreign and state.
About freedom of speech.
Yeah, they reckon he's not the GO. Look at these people. It's like the KKK in reverse, though. Yeah, because they reckon he's trying to stifle all negative press about himself.
Yeah.
So he's going to open himself up to the
Inquisition.
Inquisition today. He did it last July, actually.
Same thing?
Yeah, exactly the same. Apparently he came out smelling sweet as a nut. I'm in Red Square in Moscow, and obviously a reasonably famous piece of geography. And all the people are looking at me because I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's all good. Just over here, behind me, that building block over there, that's where Lenin is entombed. And it's a clear tomb, and they've preserved him. And we went through and saw it yesterday, but they won't allow any video cameras or cameras in there, obviously, because it's the guy's body. You know. the want of a better expression. And up the end there, we have the famous church called the, what's the church called?
St Basil's.
St Basil Church. And all the photos you saw during the war were taken from where we are now, and that was always in the background. And on the left, you know, that's the Kremlin. We were in there this morning. This is the outside of the Kremlin. That big brown wall there, where it all happens, it all happened, I might say. And this building over here is a department store these days called Gum, which back in socialist times was the state-run department store. Yeah, it's always been a department store. That's a typical grey, overcast Moscow day, which is more like the thought that people have when they think of Moscow and Russia.
You got your
good. That says Lenin in Cyrillic, and that's where his tomb is, in there. And as I say, you can see it. I'll show you the postcard on video a bit later when we're out of harm's way. Oh yeah, you're not standing in the middle of Red Square, Russia, Moscow. That's Lenin, and that's exactly what we walked past yesterday. Spent about 2 minutes looking, staring, laying in state for 80 years. Well, this is the battlefield of Borodino. This is where Napoleon came with 600,000 troops in 1812 in his attempt to take Russia. In the first 14 hours of fighting, he lost 40,000 men, and the Russians lost 30,000 right here. This is the Hotel Oasis in the middle of nowhere, Russia. And this is the Russian black market. And Michael here, a local, selling everyone dodgy CDs and shirts and stuff at the back of his Mercedes, cigarettes. Local public transport here in Smolensk, in southern Russia. And this is the Cathedral of Smolensk, should I say. Smolensk was the first town taken by the Nazis in 1941. We're right here in southern Russia, just about to go across the border to Belarus in a couple of hours. I'm currently at Kharton Forest, and this is where in the 30s Stalin, he went down to Poland and he herded up a whole heap of 4,000 actually, Polish generals and officers, and brought them here and stood them above pits and shot them in the back of the head. Not personally, of course, but certainly the order came from him. And this is where they lie today. This place was only acknowledged by the Russian government in 1990. And Pope John Paul II came here in 1995 to bless this place. When I was in America last year at the Shiloh Civil War battlefield, I made the comment that these places, it's ironic that they're in the most beautiful settings, and this is no different, that's for sure, no exception. But what the Russians did was that they planted trees on these mass graves with the hope that no one would find them, but that obviously didn't happen. This is their bush stop.
Oh, rightio. This is Savage Sight.
Get out the zoom lens.
Such is the quality of the services here in Belarus. They're real set up for tourists.
Do we start again afterwards?
How long till what?
Do we start again after this?
I don't know. We'll have to ask the boss. I just get in and she says, okay, drive for this long, and that's what I do. I just do as I'm told.
Excellent. We like it, man.
Doesn't always happen that way. This is a very unique tour for me, Heather. Well, we've come off the major highway and we're in the middle of nowhere, BFN, for a bit of a look at Belarus life up close and without the gloss on it. We're the only tour coach in here. In fact, we've just been stopped by the police who want to know why the hell we're here, because I've got no idea. To tell you the truth, neither do I. The lads have lost their hacky sack ball in the creek 1 second after getting off the truck.
Really?
Look better.
Yeah.
The locals are getting involved in the search for the hacky sack ball. What's this thing? Look, look. Fuel pouring out the top of that tanker.
Locals are wondering what's going on. This happens every 4 days. Stop at this intersection and people just go.
Well, we've come to yet another memorial, this time in Belarus, or Belarus. This is Kartin. It's a very similar name to the place we went to this morning. This, during World War II, when the Germans came in, they used to go through these villages, round everyone up, put them in the barn and set alight the barn. There were hundreds of villages that did this too. Only about a third of those villages were rebuilt. Kartin was not one of them, and it's now been made into a memorial. Just behind me you can see like a triangle sitting on its laying on its side there. That was where the barn was here, and this structure behind me with a chimney, that was just one of the homes that was burnt to the ground. Each one of them now, there's quite a few around here obviously, each one of them has a bell in it, and the bells go off every 30 seconds to signify how many Belarusians were killed during World War II. There was only one survivor, and this is a statue of him with his the body of his son. The civil condition of the truck here in Belarus. We're about 30 k's out of Minsk. He's justified driving it because he's got his hazards on.
We're in Minsk, a beautiful city, which was levelled during World War II. And if you have a look to the right, where the island is, where you see the reflection of the monument and the little bridge joining that little island, that's part of Old Town. It was the only town, or only part of the town which was left non-destroyed during World War II. And if you look just to the right of that island, you've got a church in the background. And that's one of 3 churches which formed part of the old city, and that's what that part of the city is named after, but I can't remember the name.
And the rest was levelled, Dino?
Oh,
Yes, the rest was level.
Trinity suburb.
Trinity suburb, there you go.
There you go, she knows. It's a good.
Right, now what do you want in the background?
Those
Your head?
red roof buildings and the water everywhere.
This one?
Minsk, of course, being the capital of Belarus, or Belarusia. June 27 today. 2002 is the year, and we're at Brest, believe it or not, right down to the southern portion of the old USSR, which is now known as Belarusia, right on the northern tip of Poland. We're only about 10 minutes away from the border. And this was the place in June of 1940 that the Germans came and invaded. And this was the barracks here, the fortress here at Brest. And they had two kilometre long barracks, which we can see over here, some of the remaining parts of them, to hold 10,000 men. And they went all along up back here to the side of that church. And obviously the Germans came in and obliterated them and starved them out in the end because they wouldn't come out. So that's the story of Brest in the USSR. And this statue here is of a soldier crawling out for water. Very dramatic. And obviously the memorial here has been sort of carved out of the remains of the barracks. Where are we?
No man's land between Belarusia and Poland.
We're at the,
Officially out of Belarusia, not into Poland at all.
we're at the Polish border and they're holding us up. How long have we been here?
We've now been here 1:31,
4 hours 45 minutes.
4 hours 45 minutes. And that's about 3 hours too long. That's an hour and 45 minutes too long. Estimates for how much longer? I'd say probably about another hour and 3/4.
So I reckon 2.5. Will be a Macca's run tonight for dinner. What's the geo here, boss?
Well, it's a park and it's got some pretty red flowers.
Where are we?
Lubinka. Yeah. I am with my main man, Padders, Darren and Jack. We're showing some respect to Warsaw.
And how delighted are we to be here after waiting 8 hours and 20 minutes at the border?
Algae. Algae.
Oh, algae.
Algae. Because he's slimy.
That's true, real slimy.
Oh, actually, that's the perfect shot. The old man on the cycle.
Behind me is a statue of Chopin, more factually, here in Warsaw, Poland. As I said, we had to wait 8.5 hours to get over the border yesterday. So we'd better be delighted to be here in Poland, eh? We didn't really want to come here that badly, to be honest with you, but that's the game we play. We haven't seen a lot of Warsaw on the video camera today because I've been driving most of the day doing city tour, etc., etc. But it's been above expectations. Beautiful city. This is the square in the old town, which was obliterated during World War II by the Nazis. 6.5 million people from Warsaw were killed between 1939 and 1944, while the Germans occupied this part of the world. They're doing some work on scaffolding, that's why those billboards are up. But lovely city. That's a bust of the Pope, who of course is Polish.
Yep, Rising Memorial.
It commemorates the resistance that the Polish people put up during World War II. Well, after almost 3 weeks on the road, 3 weeks tomorrow, we've finally made it to Berlin, here in Germany, capital of Germany of course. For my first time here. The only German city I've really ever been to is Munich, over and over and over and over. And we're currently on the eastern German side of Berlin, and this is the Berlin Wall behind me, or what's left of it anyway. It goes for about 1.6 kilometres. Of course it was torn down in '89, but they put it back up to signify where east and west met, basically.
And you said
So close yet so far, eh?
yes. Lean up against the wall.
Couldn't, no.
How far did that stay off the wall? Yeah, no.
I'm not sure.
Cool, Elvis comes to
No
Berlin.
man playing on that side as well.
Only like, you know, like they could.
This building is the former headquarters of the communist regime here that ruled in East Berlin, East Germany. Now it just sits derelict. They don't know quite what to do with it. But it's very bland and very, very unattractive. This is University Platz, where Einstein, amongst others, taught. And this exact spot here was where the Nazi Party had their book burning when they came to power in 1933. And you know what they say, you start burning books, you'll end up burning people. This car park behind me is the exact location of Hitler's bunker, and there's no markings, no plaque, no nothing here anymore. We're about to have the reasons for that explained right now.
Controlling the media. These people were like the thought police. You know, like George Orwell's 1984. You know, they played an important controlling function in what ordinary people were thinking and doing in the Third Reich. So, for example, within the propaganda ministry was the Ministry of Culture. And if, for example, to mark that, and perhaps that's worth explaining in the first place, the reason for this is that the establishment doesn't like to draw attention particularly to where the perpetrators lived or died, but they do draw attention to where the victims suffered. So later on in the tour today we're going to go through to the sites of where the Gestapo and SS headquarters were. That is a memorial site to the victims of the Nazis, and you know, this is well remembered. It's a permanent memorial and stuff, so we're going to head there later. There is another sinister side, of course, why this site is not marked in any way, and that is, of course, if you do mark a site like this, then every, say, I don't know, April the 20th or whatever it might be, say Hitler's birthday, this would be hijacked by neo-Nazis and turned into a bit of a shrine, wouldn't it? And the 95% of Germans who are not actually neos or don't have extreme political opinions and would prefer to view this history through the eyes of the victims rather than the perpetrators, they don't want to see these people doing those sort of things, and that's why there's no plaque here. It's not because they're ignoring the past. Germans, the great majority of Germans actually do not ignore the past, and in fact have, you know, I would honestly say that I think most Germans have, you know, atoned for the past, and also know young people who have got no reason to feel guilty about this because they've got no blood on their hands, are also very well informed about this, and I think this is a good reflection on the way society is looking at this.
This area here, just around the corner from the bunker, is where it all happened for the Nazis. That's actually German Nazi building to the left there. You can tell the difference between the two. And there's a lot of clear land here because it was all destroyed during the Battle of Berlin and subsequently afterwards by the socialist communists that were here, and now apartment blocks have been built. And that's the bunker down there. Bullet holes, etc. This Commodore is parked out the front of the one of the Nazi buildings. All the early war efforts were planned out of here. Some of the differences between east and west. That's the west over there, the Berlin Wall. All very nice and civilised and clean. And this is the east. Which is not as much so. As a matter of fact, this side of the block was bombed during World War II and never rebuilt. There's this Nazi building on the left survived. This part of the Berlin Wall behind me is actually the real Berlin Wall, which survived the demolition in 1989. Of course, that demolition was carried out by ordinary people. It was an uprising, you might say, so it wasn't planned. Otherwise, of course, the whole thing would be gone. So we're fortunate they've cordoned it off actually, so you can't actually get right next to it, just for preservation's sake.
Rather than 3 degree. Where I'm standing here, where the bricks are on the road here, this is actually where the last set of barriers were at Checkpoint Charlie. We're back on the Friedrichstrasse here, so if you remember we crossed the Friedrichstrasse a few blocks down that way. Now there's nothing left, sadly, there's nothing left of the original buildings here. Most of the original buildings, of course, were over on this side, where this glass office building is, where the white office building is. Get rid of all those buildings and replace them with a great warehouse-like structure bridging the road. And that's how Checkpoint Charlie looked in 1985. They built a great big industrial shed-like thing for processing all the traffic that was coming in here. Because of the 7 crossing points, this was much the busiest of the crossing points. Because this was the only one that foreigners, it wasn't just a question of the military only being allowed to use this. This was the only one you could use if you were a foreigner. The other 6 crossing points were reserved for Germans only. Now, a couple of years ago, they did put back, you can see just beyond the rather wacky picture of the photograph of the American soldier, you can see beyond the sandbags where those people are having their picture taken, you can see the little white hut where it says US Army Checkpoint. That is a replica of the first Checkpoint Charlie hut that was put there in 1961. When the wall fell in 1989, it was actually much bigger. It was a much bigger structure in the middle of the road there, and that's been shipped away down into where the Allied Museum is in southwest Berlin. The Checkpoint Charlie Museum has got precious little about Checkpoint Charlie, but it is a wonderful museum about all the myriad ways that people found to overcome the wall or the inner German border, defied these structures. They got through the wall, they got over it, they got under it. You think about, I mean, every which way. Hot air balloons, tunnels, micro lights, you know, little submarine type things. It was quite incredible, the ingenuity that people used.
Germany have just lost the World Cup final. You wouldn't know it.
G'day, how you doing? I'm Ruben. I'd be one of Jack's new mates. New as in fucking haven't known the lad for too long. We've got some amazing footage of Contiki driver's kill to show you. If you'd like to follow us, we'll as we pan around here on the camera.
It's a little too close for Jack's comfort.
It's far too close for Jack's comfort. It's far too close for my comfort, and it's awfully close to my coach as well. This is our good mate Stu, who has coached Jack and I both
have driven recently.
Quite like driving, quite adore.
We've driven it with distinction.
Has decided to get as close as possible to our fine wagons as possible. We're quite impressed by the work, but
he claims he did it without any help. He just did it with the camera, which is there. Well, I've had this coach, as has Ruben here, and we dispute the fact you did it with a camera.
It's a little bit too close for comfort, really.
That's paperwork, seriously, for Casper.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's mine, and that's yours over the side, but yours is actually a little way
mine's
away.
on the side, but my mirror's pretty
it's true, but
close to his side. We're dealing with a mirror, you're dealing with a screen.
Working as a team and doing it Frank's way, you're on camera, mate.
No, there's no way in
team doing it my way, mate. It's all under control. Frank's spelling. We're really short for time and really cracking along here.
We've done it before, eh?
Done it before.
Second time in 4 days that we've thrown all the belts.
This ain't gonna stop. Don't stop me now.
Not a bad part of the world, AD.
What's that?
Water over there.
Scenery here in the Fern Pass, Austria. Well, afternoon all. It's July 29, 2002 today, and I'm in Holland, Edam in Holland. Just dropped the group off so they can do their bike ride. Third last day of this 29-day concept tour around Europe. It's been a bit hard to get into actually since I came back from Russia and its associated perks like Scandinavia, Poland and Berlin. It's been a bit hard to get motivated to get back into the European track work of the normal tours that we do around Europe. But seeing as I haven't got a lot of that on video either, I figure I better pull my finger out and start doing some work. And I'm starting here with one of the canals on a beautiful Dutch day, which is quite rare, especially for me. I don't think I've ever been to Holland and it not rained. So beautiful, beautiful part of the world. End of July's peak summer season for Contiki, and here in the coach park at Central Station, or near Central Station in Amsterdam. I'll give you an example of that. There is 8 coaches. There's my Rocket, got on Mercedes, Toei. And there's 5 more over there. Well, standing on the Champs-Élysées here in Paris on the main drag, as you can see behind me is the Arc de Triomphe. It's taken a quiet few hours out of the day. Looking the other way, down towards Place de la Concorde where the coach is parked. There's Dion, my tour manager, for the second time. It's all good here in Paris. I'm currently here in the Toyota dealership in on the Champs-Élysées, should I say. It's Toyota's first Formula 1 car, the 2002 Challenger. And it's free internet upstairs, which is the only reason I came in. Well, I'm currently in the Ice Palace. Very cold in here. It's on top of the Jungfrau mountain, the tallest or the highest point in Europe, right next to the Eiger mountain. In Switzerland, it's all clouded over today, so it hasn't been a very good day, but this is quite a unique sort of a place, as you can see. These polar bears have been carved out of the mountain, obviously. There's the whole place. What was that, huh?
Jack, give us a kiss, Jack. No.
Got to treat you all equally.
What do you say?
Gonna treat us all equally. Oh,
Thank you.